Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending. We're going to recap the well, we're in celebration and recognition of Financial Literacy Month. We're going to recap the business loan opportunities that are available for small businesses, disadvantaged businesses. And then also at the end of the recap, we'll have a mock application walkthrough with Iman Cotton. She's from CDC Small Business Finance. They're CDFI. They receive funding from the SBA to get it to you, the small business. So we'll go over the eligibility requirements, then best practices, and then walk through the application process. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll answer questions along the way, and then we'll also have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, GI, and I want to recognize the other panelists if they're present. Lori, I know Lori was on. I'm not sure. Ms. Linda's not
Uh-huh.
here, but she's our nonprofit guru.
Yeah.
Dr. Travis Davis, coach. I'm sure he'll come in soon. Did I miss anyone? Oh, Michelle.
We have we have James J.D. Davis, former Air Force contracting officer and senior executive acquisitions professional in the federal government. We want to thank all of you for joining. We got
Stephanie
also
and Lisa.
Stephen, yeah, yep, Stephanie Johnson, who is also in the financial arena. She may be joining us later. But I want to welcome everybody to Demystifying Government Contracting. We're here every week from 7 to 8:30, depending on your questions. Please put your information in the chat. Uh, put your name of your business, your location, your product, service, or capability, and the type of teaming partner you need, or what are you looking for? What do you need help with? And we're just so honored to have an opportunity to find out about a unique resource, community financing from Iman. And, this is a different market. I love how she last time kind of told us about this market is targeted for the underserved communities. We're so honored to have her and Chanel here. Before I go any further, most of you know I'm retired Air Force, 27 years in the Air Force. My current day-to-day job is at the Department of Veteran Affairs, but I want to make sure that nothing that's said here has anything to do with the Department of Veteran Affairs. There is no endorsement. That's a disclaimer, and all opinions are those of who are on this panel. I do want to say that I'm so honored because I was out for 3 weeks that Chanel and Iman, Lori, Dr. Travis Davis, Coach John, Linda Gray, Lisa Anderson, Stephanie Johnson held it down for 3 weeks. And I so appreciate them sharing their knowledge, their leadership, and engagement with the community. Your generosity will never be forgotten. And with that, I'm going to pitch it on over to you, Chanel, for you to introduce Iman, who is not new to us, brought us many gifts last time. And Iman, I was just like, wow, where have you been all my life? So I hope that the small businesses feel the same way. And we're looking forward to hearing a recap of what you did 2 weeks ago, and then to roll in and tell us, look, how can we do this thing, demystify this whole financial loan application process, and just make us feel at home like we can do this. This is like asking, grandma to go in her sock underneath her mattress and help us out. So come on, girl. Thank you again, Chanel, for the connection and for, bringing Iman to the table.
Oh, yes. Happy to do so. Iman Cotton, she's a loan officer. She covers the Los Angeles district for CDC Small Business Finance, Capital Impact Partners. They're CDFI, one that I consider a partner and that I would strongly recommend that you do business with if you're a small business, especially disadvantaged, underserved minority businesses, because that's the target market for them. Iman is going to go over the products that they have, but also the SBA. They have the SBA and Treasury, they have other CDFIs that they do business with. All of them have different missions, different processes, but Iman is going to talk to CDC Small Business Finance. I know that they're a leader when it comes to the underserved market. So this is why I would recommend that you all consider CDC. Iman, you want to, just a little about my background. I'm 15 years in GovCon and government. I've been a government employee before. Now I work with industry, including the Silicon Valley tech industry. So I work in GovTech, professional services, BD, capture, capital access. I advised technical assistance center, procurement advisor for LH, one of LA's largest chambers of commerce. So if you have any questions in any of those spaces, feel free to reach out. And again, Iman Cotton, CDC Small Business Finance. Thank you, Iman, for coming again and sharing this knowledge with us and the opportunities that you all have, especially the ones that are unique to, our communities and underserved markets. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chanel and Michelle and the entire crew for having me again. Um, I am feeling like my camera is freezing a little bit. So I'm not distracted so much with myself being frozen. I'm going to turn off my camera if you guys don't mind, and get right into things. So, as Chanel stated, I am with CDC Small Business Finance. We are not just a leader in the SBA lending community. We are the number one lender in the nation for the 504 program and the Community Advantage program. Today, as she mentioned, I'll talk about, just talk like I am everybody's sister, or aunt, or whoever it may be, or even grandma, because I can sometimes have that type of voice, and just talk to you guys about the best way to go about applying and what lenders are actually looking for, not only CDC, but most all lenders. I'll go over what an actual CDC is and the CDFI, the different type of loans that they offer, the application requirements, and then go into the actual mock application. Am I able to share my screen, guys? The option is not working for me.
Hey, Iman, I can see
You
your
just see my
background.
background.
Yeah, so if you
I'm,
add your share your screen,
I'm
then
doing
I
the
can add it.
present.
Yeah, present, then I'll add
Yeah.
it. I'll add it in. Thank you.
Chanel, can you share what I emailed you?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Give me 1 second to send you the most recent one. And while she's doing that, I'll also just start talking through it. Give me 1 second to share this with Chanel. And my connection is going extremely slow for some reason. And I might have to email you the application link as well, so
Okay,
you
that's
can
fine.
get into that.
Let's see.
My apologies, guys.
No
But
worries. Hey, in the meanwhile, let's encourage the speakers, not the speakers, but the attendees to
yes,
share your information in the chat. Remember, this is a great opportunity to network. Also, share it with your network, right? Because that, your network is your net worth. And so, what we want to do is to let everybody we know about this opportunity, because if there's one challenge that every single small business owner has, I don't care whether they are in the triple millions. I've never heard a small business owner say, I don't have no problem with money. I don't have no problem getting money. They may not say it, but it's always on their mind. You know, I laugh because I was at a conference recently, and after the bank failure in California, let me tell you what I was laughing because these business owners were saying, "Do you look at your bank account every 2 or 3 hours like I do?" I thought that was so hilarious, right? Like okay, we want to make sure that money is still there. Oh
Absolutely.
boy!
And
Thank you, Tanisha.
speaking of that,
Thank you, Tracy.
mhm,
Yes.
and
No, she's
speaking of
thanking
that,
people in the audience.
oh, for sure, for sure.
Thank you,
I actually
Tracy.
come Mhm. I actually come from traditional banking. So, what Michelle is speaking to, I understand. I come from being a branch manager, a vice president, relationship manager, a small business banker. And like I mentioned before, when startup businesses used to walk into the financial institution, the first thing I would say is when they ask for funding, the first thing that I would say is we don't do loans for businesses that's under 2 years, not even knowing and being familiar with what a CDC is or a CDFI and how they can actually help. And their mission is to actually help financial institutions, small businesses, and have more lenient requirements than actual traditional financial institutions. So it's truly, truly about having knowledge and being connected to the right people and the right resources to be able to really get what you need, and working with people that's like-minded and that can steer you in the right direction regardless if it's going to benefit them or not. um, Hopefully Chanel has received the PowerPoint, because if she didn't, it would be a bummer. But anyways, I'm still going to go through the actual information. And Chanel, you can actually just start screen sharing when you do get it, if you receive it. So
Uh, for how many of you? Let me just ask in the chat.
go for it.
How many of you were here 2 weeks ago to hear Iman's presentation? Put a yes in the chat if you were here for Iman's presentation. Put a no in the chat if you were not. I'm looking. Let's see. What do we got? Uh, okay, Rayvon, thank you. Good to see you again. Okay, Lanessa was here. Tracy was here. Rayvon from Baltimore, thank you. Julius was here. We got a lot of repeat folks, which says a lot. So now the next question I want to ask you is, if you were here, um, did you know about this program or this opportunity for funding for startups prior to hearing this presentation? Here, I got you, Iman. You just came in for your presentation.
Yay!
Yeah,
Awesome.
so we're good. We're good, girl. We just
Okay, good.
chilling. We good.
No first time.
This is a
No. Okay.
community of love right here. We good. We good. All right then. We're gonna go. Can you see your own slides?
I can.
Okay, so you're got it, girl.
All right. So, what to expect when applying for an SBA loan? The ones that were here the last time, you may have seen some of this stuff. But nevertheless, I'm going to move through it kind of rather quickly so we can do the mock application, and I can share the type of documentation you can expect to uh, submit with the application. So I'll do the introductions, the types of loans, the 5 C's of credit, our loan products, and I'm gonna skip the success stories for now to get to the mock application. So a CDC is a certified development company. They're certified by the SBA to administer SBA 504 loans. and other loans. CDCs are private nonprofit entities with a mission to provide business financing to those who aren't quite strong enough for bank financing. There are over 260 CDCs in the country. A CDFI is a community development financial institutions. CDFIs basically promote access to capital and local economic growth in urban and rural low-income communities across the nation through monetary awards and the allocation of tax credits. These institutions have community development mission and a reputation for lending responsibly in low-income communities. CDFIs include banks and holding companies, as well as credit unions, loan funds, and venture capital funds. There are more than 1,300 CDFIs in the United States. In reference to like when you apply, speed and risk impacts an actual loan. So if the loan is approved quickly, it's usually low documentation. But with SBA loans, they are fully underwritten loans where you have to submit like full tax returns, financial things of that nature. I'm going to get into this also when I get into the mock loan application. But for instance, if you're a startup business, these are the items that you need to submit specifically to CDC to apply for a loan. And they're basic items, and all organizations need these items when you go to apply for any type of financing. Really quickly, the only difference with the startup versus existing versus acquisition is maybe like the business plan, the lease agreement, and things of that nature. But the personal information remains the same regardless of what type of application you're applying for. So we will always need the most recent year of personal tax returns. We'll always need the personal financial statement. If you have a spouse, they need to sign it as well, because we want to look at the total household expenses or the total household debts. The personal expense form for the entire household as well, for you and your spouse. The most recent pay stub, if there is one, for yourself and for your spouse, that only helps with the overall situation if you do have outside income. And then we just want you to note how much you pay for your rent or mortgage. And then the business information, again, depending on if you're a startup, existing, or acquisition, the business information may change, but we'll always need the CDC application. The business debt schedule is always required also, but like the business plan and the 2-year financial projections broken out monthly, that is. And the lease, and let me say this, an unexecuted lease, if you're intending to occupy a space, and the bid if any tenant improvements are involved. So because it's a startup, of course, you may need a lease or some tenant improvements and things of that nature. And most CDCs or CDFIs can actually fund you to lease an actual space and have the actual operating expenses for it. The capital for the operating expenses. If you're an existing business, we need the last 2 years of your business tax returns. The 2022 profit and loss statement and balance sheet is in there because California has an extension currently. But if you're in another state that the return is supposed to or be required to be submitted already, we expect you to have the return or an extension. So 2 years of most recent business tax returns, the 2023 interim profit and loss statement and balance sheet. You'll always need 6 months of bank statements, the business debt schedule, and the CDC application. And again, the personal information stays the same. If it's an acquisition, it's the exact same as the requirements for the startup business, but then we also need information from the seller, which consists of 3 years of the most current business tax returns and the profit and loss statement and balance sheet dated within 40 days. Not all SBA lenders are the same. The SBA has their standard of operating procedures that the lenders have to follow. but each SBA lender sets their own lending criteria to approve the loan. So SBA isn't approving your loan, the lender is approving your loan, and the SBA is only funding the deal. And each lender, as I mentioned, has a different requirement, or they have a different appetite or credit policy to actually qualify for a loan. So just because you get denied by one SBA lender, keep trying. Keep trying. The worst they could say is no. But I would do due diligence in the beginning to make sure that your situation actually fits the lender that you're actually applying to. And you actually would, within the use of funds, which I'll get into, you'll specify what the purpose of your actual, what the funds are to the LinkedIn user who asked the question about the leasing a space. I'll get into that in one moment though. There are different types of loans. In general, there's term loans, which are things like auto loans, furniture loans, those are installment loans where you pay principal and interest over a set period of time. A line of credit is revolving, such as like a credit card or a home equity line of credit or a business line of credit. You use it, pay it back, use it, pay it back. Those are best if you really don't know how much money you need to borrow. You know you need access to capital. You may not need it right now, but you want to have it there in case of emergency. A line of credit is not to be used like a loan, though. So keep that in mind. If you're going to get a line of credit and max out the balance and it's going to stay there, you may want to consider a loan and a line of credit if you can qualify for one. CDC Small Business Finance, I don't do lines of credits, but again, we're all in this together, and I refer to different organizations that can meet your line of credit needs. There's also merchant cash advances. If you accept credit or debit card payments, you can sometimes get an advance. This is not a loan. It's an advance against your receivables or your future credit card payments. So again, it's not a loan. And then the way they collect their funds is they take a percentage of your daily sales until the funds are paid back. Or you can also like increase the loan, the advance amount, or completely pay it off. But again, it's basically an advance against your receivables. Use of funds is so important. It's extremely important because if you don't use the funds for what you say you'll use it for, you're going to need to pay that money back, and you'll get in trouble for that as well. So with us specifically and most SBA lenders, business acquisitions or change of ownership, you can use the loan for equipment, refinancing debt, working capital, tenant improvements. And the SBA has those statement of procedures or SOP, and the lender criteria policy or credit box will determine the rules and willingness to lend for a specific use of loan proceeds. So for instance, CDC, we don't have an appetite for trucking. We don't necessarily like long haul or short haul trucking, but we will do something like a dump truck. So it's really about having a conversation with the lender prior to applying to understand what their actual appetite is. The 5 C's of credit, extremely important because this is what all lenders use. Some have added the 6 C's of credits now. I'll go through, and I went through these the last time as well, but they are capital, capacity, collateral, conditions, character. The most important one, as I mentioned before, it used to be capacity for me, the ability to pay back the loan. But now it's conditions. Because as a startup business or business acquisition, if you don't have 2 years of industry experience, or if you aren't bringing a partner in that has the industry experience or some type of significant person within management, then we're not going to accept an application. So you need to have industry experience and actually do a business that aligns with your passion, your wheelhouse, and your something that you actually know about. I get phone calls like, so what type of business should I do for a business loan? It's like, huh? What do you mean? What do you do? And then they try to talk things through. And I know those people are just trying to, get some money in some type of way. So please, your business, because you're going to need to have a business plan and those 2-year financial projections anyways. And within that plan, it spells out your industry experience, your market plan, your management team, things, your sales plans, things of that nature. So make sure to have the industry experience in what you're trying to do. Capacity. Cash flow is king. Capacity, capacity, capacity. If you have the capacity to handle your personal expenses as a startup or business acquisition, we will give you up to $350,000 for a business loan simply based on your projections. Again, if you have the financial capacity on paper, your business tax returns, your pay stub, your spouse pay stub, the balance that's in your savings account, the balance that's in your checking account, the balance that you have in, excuse me, in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, all of that matters. So you want to be extremely transparent with and feel like you can be extremely transparent with your loan officer, because they are to quarterback the situation and set you up for to actually receive the capital that you're applying for. So you want to, within capacity, we ask you to complete that personal financial statement. And that's when you disclose the business income, the personal income, your debts, things of that nature. We look at, for an existing business, we look at the global cash flow, your personal outside income and your business income. If both of those can cover your business debt, your current personal debt, and the business loan request at a 1-to-1 debt coverage ratio, then we will give you the loan that you're asking for. And the debt coverage ratio, or DCR, is how for every liability, how much do you need in assets to cover it? We only want $1 for every dollar. So for every dollar that you have in expenses, I only need $1 in income to cover it. That's kind of unheard of. Most companies is like 1.25 to 1.75, 1.15. So it's possible. Accessing capital is truly possible. You just have to find a lender that can meet your needs. Capital, if you're a startup, you need a 10% only injection. Most times you need 10 or 20% at places that you go. The sources have to be cash. It could be your savings, a home equity line of credit, partner contributions, family and friends. Character is things such as your personal credit. The things that go into personal credit is your payment history, capacity, how well do you pay your bills, the length of credit, the time that you've had credit. Did you start getting credit when you were 18, or were they adding you as authorized users at 16, or did that start happening at 40? Search and acquisition for new credit inquiries. There's a new rule, and I want you guys to look it up for yourselves or Google it, that if you're applying for the same type of loan within, I believe it's a 7-day time frame, then they're counting it differently as multiple inquiries if it's within that certain amount of time frame. So if you're going to apply for a house, if you're going to apply for a car, if you're going to apply for a business loan, if it's that same amount, same type of inquiry within a certain amount of time frame, then they only look at it as one. But I want you guys to Google that for yourselves. Collateral. CDC, we don't require any collateral. We don't require any collateral. We just do a UCC filing on the business assets, and we don't always have to go in first position. Meaning, if you have a business loan already, we might go in second position and not require first position, depending on what the loan was for. But in collateral can be things such, if a lender requires it, it could be something like your personal residence, business assets, personal assets, and again, personal assets, things such as cash. So you like your savings accounts, CDs, things of that nature. CDC, we have no minimum credit score requirement. Yep, I said it. We have no minimum credit score requirement, but we do have a minimum SBSS score requirement. And this is a score that takes a look at the personal credit and the business credit. And if you're a startup, of course, we know you don't have any, but it's an indicator of how likely you are to pay back your loan. And anybody with 20% or more ownership of the business has to be a guarantor on the actual the loan. A spouse is not a guarantor, but nevertheless, we do look at the total household income, as I mentioned, but we don't require your spouse to be a guarantor. The types of loan, SBA 504, they are typically 90% fixed rates. With the SBA 504 loan, money can be used to buy a building, finance ground up construction, or building improvements, purchase heavy machinery and equipment, or refinance debt. These loans are typically 125 to 20 million. They're fixed for 10 years for equipment, 20 to 25 years for real estate, and the minimum down payment or injection is 10%. SBA 504 loans are 7(a) loans. These proceeds can be used for like working capital, existing business, refinance debt, or equipment or CRE. They typically range from 50,000 to 5 million. The rates for CDC specifically, they range. It's a range of them. And it's prime plus something. Prime is currently 8%. So our loans are prime plus anywhere from 4.5% to 5%, depending on the dollar amount that you actually receive. The terms can be 5 to 7 years. For working capital, 10 years business acquisition, 10 to 15 years equipment, 20 to 25 years real estate. The working capital can actually be 10 years also, and business acquisition. My apologies about that. The type of loans that most CDCs do, and that we do specifically, are startup businesses, early stages businesses, like 3 months, but we also take 0 days projection based. Week cash flow, you went to your bank and applied, but they said that you don't meet the income requirements. Credit issues, we actually accept challenging credit with reasonable explanation, such as you can have a collection item and I can actually still work with you as long as you go put resolution in place. What does resolution in place look like? That could be a $5 payment arrangement with the collection agency, as long as you get me some type of documentation saying you have an arrangement in place. This can also be an open judgment. As long as you go put some resolution in place and provide me the documentation of your resolution, or you pay off or settle the item, then that meets my credit issue checkbox to continue your loan application. So CDC, we are no minimum credit score with reasonable explanation. Tell me something. Explain to me what happened. Did you get sick? Did a family member get sick? Did you lose your job? Whatever it may be, tell me the story so I can position it in the best way possible. And we do, our minimum loan amount is $10,000. CDC and most other lenders, they offer microloans. Specifically, CDC offered directly by CDC Small Business Finance, and like I mentioned, other approved micro lenders. Our microloans range $10,000 to $50,000. The loans offered for viable businesses that do not meet bankruptcy requirements. Prime is 8%. So this loan is only prime plus 0.75, which is 8.75, and it's fixed. The term is only 3 to 6 years. So if you need a longer term, and then we do post-loan business counseling required. So we have a business advising service team that helps our customers pre-loan and post-loan if it's required, and if the business just wants the additional assistance to make sure they are on the right track with the plan, with their business plan, with their financial projections, with paying the loan, with just overall making sure the business is going as planned. If you need a greater amount or a greater term, this is what we are the #1 lender in the nation for, the Community Advantage Program. It allows non-bank lenders to make SBA 7A loans offered directly by CDC Small Business Finance and other approved alter, uh, alternative lenders. CDC covers all states besides North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee. We have limited loans that we could do in Utah, Vermont, and Alaska. The loan range is 10,000 to 350, and they could be used for startup businesses, existing businesses, expansion, business acquisition, debt refinance, and CRE. And again, the rate ranges from prime from anywhere from 4.5% to 5%. And the term can be 5 to 10 years, but we have no prepayment penalty for any of our loans. So I always say, take the longest term, and you can choose to make the extra payment when you have it and to pay it off early. So on paper, also for your debt to income ratio, it looks better being on a 10-year term than a 5-year term and having a $5,000 payment versus $2,500 being taken in consideration for your cash flow and your debt to income ratio. We also have what's called the impact loan, which is only offered in California. This is one of the special programs that Michelle and Chanel was speaking on, that if your SBSS score does not meet a minimum requirement of what we set at 140, we cannot continue the loan process unless you are African American, Latino, and or your business is located in a low and moderate income area. So again, if you apply for a microloan or a community advantage loan and you are located in California, if you are African American, Latino, or if your business is located in a moderate income area, I can continue the loan process. But I know that you will have collection items or issues that you need to resolve. And again, those issues need to be resolved prior to me issuing the pre-qualification. The loans are offered for all the same things as the other loans: startups, existing, expansion, acquisition, debt refinance, CRE. This loan for the impact is actually prime plus 4.75. Sorry about that. It's a 10-year amortization due in 5 years. And then I want to do like a mic drop and fireworks right now, because I cannot wait. And I am so excited about Activate South Los Angeles coming in June. We now have a program called Activate Detroit. It was the only city or state that we were doing Activate this type of program in, specifically for businesses that are 51% or greater owned by an African American, and the business has to be located, the business, not the home address, but the actual business address, and the business operations need to be in South Los Angeles. The loan only goes up to 100,000, but if you need 350 and qualify, I can give you the 350 through the Community Advantage loan. But this loan specifically is not for pure startups. You have to be in business at least 3 months or have at least 3 months of proven sales. This is actually a blind credit score program. They pull the FICO, they pull the credit, but they blind the actual score, so we don't even see the score. These loans are all about tell me your story. Explain to me what's going on, what happened, what your dream is. Help me sell this to my underwriters and funder so we can get this loan funded. The loan fees are waived. That 10% injection that I talked about, there is no down payment or borrower equity requirements for this loan. There's flexibility repayment structures. Like I mentioned, it has to be 51% more African American in business operations in South Los Angeles. The loan rate now is 10% fixed. So I'm so excited and want to spread the word to all your partners, all your bankers, just anybody that you know that can that I can get the word out to about this program, because it's going to be something that I feel like is awesome and will truly help the community. 18 months of business projections are required, but we actually refer you to our business advisor who assists you with that for free. So I'm truly excited about this program, and sorry for staying on it so long, but it's coming in June. And I want to make sure that we get the word out and people are ready to apply. As I mentioned, I'm going to skip the success stories for a moment to get into the application. You'll have to tell me in a second what screen you're actually seeing. Is that my email that you see?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it's switching in a second. There we go. So with CDC Small Business Finance, you actually, we are now well, not quite paperless all the way, but you start your application through a link that I will email you. I can just send you a general pre-qual link, or I can send you the appropriate startup application link, existing business, or acquisition link. But either way, I can turn that pre-qual app, if you're not quite sure what you are or where you're at, I can send you the pre-qual app, which is what this is, to actually submit an application. So I'm going to actually run through it really quickly, and hopefully it does not freeze every single screen. And I've already clicked. Okay. So we'll just do a loan request amount for 100,000, and it'll get in there sooner or later. So this part, okay, I'll keep going, but if it's dreadful, just let me know and we can save this for when systems are moving quicker, maybe for the next one. But as you see, go for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, one question.
Yes.
Michelle asked, is this program going to be offered in other states?
Which one is that? The Activate program?
Activate, yes.
We will eventually roll it out to more locations. They are working on streamlining the program now to roll out to, for instance, Maryland, well, the DMV area, Atlanta, different places like of that nature. So definitely more and more markets where it's needed, it will be rolled out, but LA will be the actual next location after Detroit. What else? Let's funnel some more questions while I'm clicking slowly through the application. And like I stated, if it's too dreadful, we'll just skip this one this time and have to show it another time. Any other questions that came through?
Not that I can see.
Okay.
No, I don't see any more questions. Let me see. And just one thing, Iman, before people come for like the to pre-qualify, what would you recommend? Because I know there are certain documents that they should have prepared or be prepared to show. I know you already went over some of it, but just like to make sure we recap that it is important that you are prepared and have the proper documentation before you reach out. You know,
for sure. And I think that might actually be better than fumbling through right now the application, because the application is extremely easy, guys. That's what we wanted to show you, that you don't have to be fearful or nervous to apply. If you have any questions, I will walk you through each screen to make you feel comfortable and to ensure that you're entering the correct information. I want to pull back up the screen if it will switch for me to the application requirements, and you guys should take screenshots of it and things of that nature so you can have it. And again, this isn't only for CDC, but most lenders request the documents that we request.
And we can walk through, because all the applications are also different. So that's another thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
To like mention with this mock application, the CDFIs and the financial lenders that are associated with these government backed programs, they have regulations, standard regulations and SOPs, but they are different in the way that they manage their programs and administer them. And I know that because I used to oversee some of this process at the SBA. Actually, when Community Advantage started, it started during the time that I was in government service at the SBA. So I know that they have different ways of doing things. Another thing, if you're denied by one lender, you can also go to another lender and maybe be considered. So
Sure.
that's another thing. If just because one lender cannot do business with you because maybe that's just not their risk appetite or is not their target uh industry, it doesn't mean that you can't try out another one. And there are many CDFIs and financial lenders that do business with government and that also have customized products. But I know CDC, Small Business Finance, they're one of not many that offer it specifically like for African Americans and Latinos or Black and Latino businesses and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, in LMI areas, low moderate income areas.
Yeah, and then
Um,
also underserved markets, which are low to moderate income. And then Iman, I have one question. I don't know where it's located now. Can you let them know where the guidance for low to moderate incomes is located? Is it still that? Do you all still use the HHS standards? Like what standards or HUD standards? What standards do you use to identify the low to moderate incomes within the United States?
the hood, like you mentioned, is it the FE? What is it? I don't know it off top, but you could just Google, put the address in Google and Google it, and then it'll take you to an actual site that will let you know. Hmm?
HUD.gov.
Yep,
So
that will work also.
yeah, so if you go to HUD.gov and then they'll have different, you probably in their search bar, you want to put low to moderate income and it should pull up their uh low to moderate income map. And also I'll locate that and put it in the chat or the I'll put it under this session just so that you can have it so that you'll also know if you qualify based on your income.
And then I'll put my information in the chat as well, just in case anyone wants to schedule a 15 or 30-minute appointment with me. Please, please, please do so. But please note that you were on this webinar so I can make sure to reach out and give the appropriate thank yous to the team.
So if the mark is not allowing us to log
It's
in,
not.
can we just let them know? So I know they'll need their either the EIN or social. Like, can we let them know the
For
key
sure.
they'll
So
need?
when you go to apply, and as I mentioned with the actual, when I showed you the applications, the requirements that you need for your business information, you could be a sole proprietor and still apply for the actual SBA, the loan up to 350,000. You could be a home-based business and still apply for the loan for 350. So as a business, you can either use your social if that's what you're using, or you could use a EIN number or a tax ID number. You'll use that, you'll enter that information. Your business address, we want the actual physical address, not a post office address, but your physical address. With any application you do, they're looking for your actual physical address. From there, you'll put how long you've been in business, whether that's 0 days, 2 years, whatever it may be. The use of funds is one of the questions we ask you because that's extremely important. As I mentioned before, if you don't have the appropriate use, then you won't get the loan or you might get in trouble. After the use of funds, you want to break within the use of funds, you'll actually break down the information of if you want tenant improvements, if you need construction, working capital, operating expense, startup costs, or whatever you need up to the 350. You'll break it down in each like box that's there for you to use. From there, you'll input your personal information, And you'll of course put your like business email, business phone number. After that, it'll request for your personal information, which is your name, your social.
Iman,
Uh,
I'm not seeing anything on your screen right
it's
now.
it's uh it's not sharing
Oh,
anymore.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The personal information. As far as the personal information, you just need things such as your social, date of birth, home address, um, all the basic information that you know about yourself, and that's it. And then you upload your documents. And with our system, it'll show you a list of all the documents that you actually need, which is what I showed you guys before. I'm still hitting screen share to try to share the screen again, but it won't allow me to share it. So, but as far as the documentation, you have everything that you need. And whatever you don't have, um, you can always just reach out to me and I'll walk you through it. Things such as as a startup business with the business plan and the actual financial projections. If you don't have those, there are places such as the chambers, small business development centers, the New Women's Business Center, just different organizations who will help you actually create a business plan for free as well as your financial projections. So don't even be fearful that if you don't have your business plan and financial projections together, that you actually have to wait to start the application. That's not true at all. The business plan and financial projections is kind of with a startup business, kind of like the last thing that I need, because if you don't cash flow or if you can't afford the loan, your business plan and your projections don't matter. So yeah, even like I mentioned with the business plan and financial projections, if you don't have that right now, don't necessarily allow that to deter you from the process. As long as you actually know, that you can easily work with someone and create the business plan for the business that you already have in mind. Not that you're winging it with this person, because we want to be respectful of everyone's time. But outside of that, as I mentioned, it's just the basic information that you should already have and know about yourself outside of maybe looking up the tax ID number or EIN number. And also, you really want to request the amount that you actually truly need. So if you're a startup, if you think you'll need 350 in your projections, based on your projections, you can handle 350, then request the 350. So you don't only get 50,000, but you really needed 100,000. And now you're in a position where you need more money. So just make sure that you sit down and truly, truly think about your loan request and the amount that's actually needed.
Let's see.
What else, guys?
Uh, I would say, oh, I would say this. If we can share a couple of success stories.
Yes,
I know we did
absolutely.
it the last time, but some people weren't here.
Yeah. I have another one that's actually a seamstress. She applied at the bank, but she was denied by City National Bank. But she was denied. And she actually was referred to us by City National Bank. The cash flow was extremely tight, meaning she just barely slid through to meet the 1-to-1 ratio that I mentioned that I needed. She only needed 50,000 to purchase more material, so it was a request for working capital. Working capital. With working capital, we can deposit those funds directly into an account. But if it's for like equipment or tenant improvements and construction, we're paying the direct lender. I'm sorry, the contractor directly, or for the equipment directly. The only cash that we'll really give you is for working capital or the operating expense. So 50,000, she needed 50,000 to purchase material. After I was able to, and she had 2 open collection items that she made arrangements on. So she made those arrangements. I was able to get her pre-qualified. And then after she was funded like 2 weeks later with the 50,000 deposit into her account. But again, she initially tried to go through her bank, but the bank denied her because of her cash flow as an existing business. I then have a startup business that's doing like, there's my screen back, right? I then had a startup business that is doing um, like learning mats for children, and she needed funding to and has orders on deck, but she ran out of money and couldn't continue to make the mats. She was able to get funded for 100. Couldn't get funding through the bank because she's a startup business. She had to be gifted 36,000 in funds to meet the cash flow shortage that she had. But because she was gifted 36,000, or somebody simply provided a letter saying that she can be gifted, I was able to take that 35,000 into consideration to kind of help with the negative income that she had. So we were able to pay off like 40,000 in credit cards for her. Then we gave her the money for we paid for the equipment, and then we also deposited like $86,000 into her account for working capital. So now she's hired 2 part-time employees. They already started production for the mats, and it's just been truly, truly exciting. The one that hasn't funded yet that I mentioned the last time is an African-American man, husband and wife. They have total income together of only like 75,000, and their deal actually got approved, meaning now it's ready to be funded by the SBA for 350 to do a franchise, a Louisiana famous chicken franchise. And again, they only make 75,000 together, but their expenses were manageable enough to where their income actually could cover the expenses. Then he had a cousin that was able to help him because he needs a 10% injection as a startup. He had a cousin, meaning he had to put down 35,000 for the overall loan, but now we have to hold money if you're doing like tenant improvements and in construction, because those bids have been coming back really, really low. So word of advice, if you need any type of construction, make sure you go and get at least 3 to 5 bids, I would say, to make sure that your contractors are all kind of in line with one another. Because if that bid comes back 20,000 more than you anticipated, your deal might be dead, which is why we've increased the amount of the improvement contingency that we need to hold. So his cousin was able to cover the gift amount that he would need for the injection and for the tenant improvements contingency. And like I stated, his loan just got approved last week. And it's a Louisiana famous fried chicken opening up in Lancaster. So I'm truly, truly excited. So those are a few of the success stories. And then if you guys want to grab screenshots of like the documentations, I know, Michelle, you mentioned you said you weren't seeing what I was saying before. And again, with the CDC application on that's the business information. That's why you'll write your business name. And on the system, you'll enter your business name and your EIN number. The business debt schedule is for business debt only. If it's if it's business debt that's in your personal name, we will not pay it off unless it's in the business name. Now, if you can submit me like 12 months of credit card statements that show that they are truly, truly business expenses or truly, truly business charges, I can fight to get that included as business debt. But business debt, you truly want to write down only debt that's in the business name. The business plan and 2-year projections, like I stated, I can refer you to someone at the small business development centers that can help you for free, and the chamber can help as well. And then within the personal, the personal financial statement, this is the form that I want you to be the most transparent on, where you would list your individual information. So this is how much in assets do you have? How much in liabilities do you have? What's your income? Do you have life insurance? Those type of questions. And you just read the questions and just answering them to the best of your ability. If you ever get stuck, you just reach out. So that was the acquisition. I'm sorry, the existing, this is the acquisition. And I think I showed the startup again already. Let me drop my information in the chat. So again, anybody is welcome to schedule a 15 or 30-minute Calendly with me. And I would love to talk to everybody and learn more about your business and organization and how I can help in any type of way. And if I can't help, I will help assist you find someone that can help you. And then I can also put the information on the screen as far as my information. If you want to shoot me a text, I can text you my calendar link also. The loan process time takes about 30 to 45 days total. In reference to student loans, if you have any student loans, if they're not currently in repayment, we are still going to estimate a payment for you using a 10-year term at 3%. This payment is always truly higher than what your payment will be. So if you can provide me some documentation that states what your student loan will be, what your student loan payment will be after the payments, well, when the payment is supposed to start, then I can count that payment. If they are currently in repayment, we just add them to the installment loan debt. So if it's, go for it.
Excuse me. Yes, so I was able to locate, I think this one is a 7A loan application, but if we could just, it is a paper it's the paper PDF version. Do you mind if I just share it and then we just go through and just, you already let people know like the requirements, and it's pretty much the same thing, but just so they can see an example of like, how, what the requirements are written into an application.
Since my screen is back working, I can actually share the actual application.
Yeah.
Paper application.
Yep. And another thing, when you're borrowing loans that are backed by the government, and Iman mentioned this, but your uses for the loan, it can be reviewed at any time. So you want to make sure you're getting a loan for the right reasons, because any federal, or I would imagine even like state funding, if you're not using it for the correct purpose, then you will have to pay it back if it's reviewed and it's deemed that it is an unallowable use. So you want to make sure you're using it and you're asking for an amount that you actually need, or that you'll need in the future for your business.
So hopefully the screen switches in. Okay, perfect. So it's going to switch to the CDC application. So the actual system, when you go to enter your information into the electronic system, this is basically all the same information you'll enter. Business name, service products offered, your business entity, the physical address, the mailing address if different, phone number, email, who referred you, your EIN number, the date the business was established, how long have you, if you're an acquisition or whatever it may be, date you took ownership of the business, the numbers of employees, the numbers of jobs created with this loan. Has the business or any of its owners or any affiliate business of the owners ever filed bankruptcy protection? This answer can be yes, and that's fine as long as it's 3 years or older. So I can work with people with bankruptcy, foreclosures, and judge bankruptcies and foreclosures as long as they're 3 years or older. So you just answer appropriately, yes or no. Is your business at least owned by 51% U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident? This is the SBA rule, and the answer has to be yes. Anybody with 20% or more ownership, you have to list them with company ownership. The use of funds, this is the section that I was specifically speaking of, that you'll list the different use of funds. You just break this amount down to up to 350,000. If you're a startup business, know that you need a 10% borrower contribution. And if you've already contributed 10%, we count your previous injection as long as it was some type of cash injection. So if you used a credit card and then you paid that credit card off or paid the credit card, down, we can possibly count the credit card, I'm sorry, the transaction, as long as you show us the invoice, the credit card payment, and the proof that the credit card was paid with cash. So I can count previous borrower contributions. For instance, the guy with the Louisiana famous fried chicken, I was able to count 25,000 towards his injection that he had made a year prior because he paid the franchise fee. So we just need proof of any previous injections so we can knock the amount down that you have to put up. These are most of the reasons that that you have limited access to financing, and you select whichever one applies to you. Bank declined my loan, don't have collateral, industry is considered high risk, loan payments offer was too high. Loans offer have high interest rates. My business is new, less than 2 years of financial this means you filed less than 2 years. You have less than 2 years of tax returns filed. Credit score doesn't qualify, loan amounts too small. Then we want to know who you are, a woman, Hispanic, African-American, military veteran, or military spouse. All this matters because if you, once we pull a SBSS score, if we see you're African-American or Hispanic, we can continue automatically. And then from there, you just sign and date the application. All individuals with 20% or more ownership. And that's it for this specific form. There's also the personal financial statement, which I think is extremely important. And I think it's switching over in a moment. With the personal financial statement, this is the form that I was speaking of. You want to check the 7A 504 surety bonds box. None of these other ones apply with us specifically because this is we only offer the actual 7A 504 loans. Here and see your name, home address, the business name, business address, business phone number, home phone, select the business entity. Married, yes or no. Information is current. Then you'll enter your assets and liabilities. This here, you'll enter whatever amount you have in your in your checking accounts, whatever amounts you have in your savings, IRA, accounts and notes payable, life insurance, stocks, bonds, real estate, automobiles, personal property, and any other assets. You'll want to list those total balances because what you want to show is you have offset assets to offset your liabilities. Even if you don't, that's okay because like I mentioned, you can be gifted funds to make up any shortfall. On the liability side, you want to list any accounts payables, any notes payables, installment accounts, the accounts payables and notes payables. Most people just plug in their credit card balances there, the total credit card balance, and you can note the payment on the side somewhere, but you'll actually list those individually as well. So here is where I'm speaking of. You'll just list the credit card or lines of credit's total balances, and then the installment account, if it's auto, installment account, if it's other, and the monthly payment, you want to make sure you note that. In the event you have any loans against life insurance, if you have a mortgage, any unpaid taxes, state or federal, any other liabilities that you may be paying, such as child support, whatever it may be, you want to list in other liabilities. Then your salary. This is your W-2 salary, or this is your income from your business, or whatever salary that you actually truly have. If you have any investment income, real estate income, you want to list that, or other income, such as spouse income, or any other income that's not listed there. Well, the salary, if you really receive a salary, other income is the actual business income. Contingent liabilities as endorser or co-maker, legal claims and judgments, provision for federal income tax, other special debt. You just want to list any of those if applicable. Describe your other income. Then here is where you'll put the credit cards. You'll put the credit card holder name, original balance, current balance, payment amount. If you pay that monthly, quarterly, however often you actually pay it. And then how secured or endorsed, this is probably not just blank. But if it's a line of credit, then you would put, with house or whatever it may be. So list each individual credit card, total balance, current balance at least, and the payment. The payment is the most important. If you have more than this, you just want to add an addendum or add another document, or just create a Word document and just add all the payments that you could possibly list. Any stocks and bonds, any real estate owed, you'll list the date that it was purchased, the address, the type of real estate it is, the original cost, the value, who's the mortgage with, the account number, the balance, the payment, is it current or delinquent, other personal property or in other assets, you'll list that here. Unpaid taxes, you'll detail them in 6. Other liabilities, if you have any other liabilities, or if you want to just continue the credit card details here, that's perfectly fine also. Life insurance held, any life insurance that has cash surrender value. You want to put down the name of the policies and the beneficiaries. And then you and your spouse would just sign and date this and list your social. What else?
Yeah, that's the key parts of the application.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Do you all get any external? You still get external, like if someone could be reviewed or further questions, what would they need to provide? Like, is there any chance of additional documentation besides what's submitted?
So if we need further understanding, then absolutely. So if we need, if you're saying that the credit card, your personal statement is really, your personal credit card is truly a business credit card, then I would ask you for statements to confirm that. If you are receiving income that you're claiming from maybe being the caregiver over your nephews, then I would want to see the documentation or check stub for that. So it just depends on, after the initial application and documents are submitted, what additional, if any, documentation that's needed.
Yes, and this is for just for reference for anyone listening in. This is for any of the government-backed loans, and even in some cases, grants, if they're financial assistance grants. But I know for loans, sometimes you may even have to submit, I know for this, your bank statements, additional tax forms, information about your spouse, or just any validation. They can be pretty much, they can ask you for further validation of any documents. So make sure any income or any debts that you have, written proof, or some way for them to validate the information besides what you complete and fill in on the application.
And that's the biggest thing, just some type of validation of whatever you're saying is the reason for whatever that happened. Anything that you can give me to kind of champion for you, that's extremely helpful.
Thank you. And then Iman, Tanisha, she has a question regarding student loans.
I had answered it.
Oh, you answered that one? Okay.
Mm-hmm. The student loans, yep. If they are not currently in repayment, that we calculate a payment for you for 10 years at 3%. If you have some type of documentation, though, that shows what the repayment will be, we want you to provide that so we can give you credit for the lesser payment.
Okay. And then are there any refinancing options for this loan?
Debt refinance. So yes, we can pay off debt as long as there's a tangible benefit. So if our rate is higher than any debt, than the debt you want to pay off, we won't pay the debt off. So it has to make sense, but we will do debt consolidation for any debt that has a greater interest rate or a greater term, or it just has to be some type of tangible benefit.
Thank you, Iman. Does anyone else have questions? And then Michelle, this is the mock application. This is pretty much the standard application for the loans, and then also SBA has standard forms, and those are all at sba.gov if you'd like to see any of the standard forms.
The personal financial statement is standard for sure. You have to submit that with every application. But yeah, but again, if you struggle with any forms, please, please, please just reach out accordingly, and I'll help you walk through anything that may be.
If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I know we're coming close to the time. Does any of the other panel members have any questions or anything else that they would like to input to this conversation?
No, Chanel, thank you, Iman. Thank you, Chanel. I was going to just say if you could kind of give some takeaways from the chat. It seems like, this was just absolute gold, and folks really appreciated the information. I want to thank you and Imani again. And then I'll close out and kind of tell folks what's happening next week.
Yes, sure. I strongly recommend if to take advantage of these programs. One reason, if you don't take advantage of the programs that the federal government puts out for assistance, sometimes they're pilot programs, and even if they're long tenure, if they don't see the participation, any program is at risk of being eliminated. So make sure you use the programs that they're putting out. And also, the more you use the programs, the more funding they'll put into those programs, and consider other pilot programs that are similar to, like, make more impact and create a greater likelihood for access to capital for underserved markets. Also, there are opportunities for grants right now. I would recommend that you check your state, city, county, and any other locality websites for grant opportunities. And if you do not see any grant opportunities for small businesses, you can always reach out to your leadership, introduce your business, and ask if they have any block grants for businesses within a community. You can tell them about your mission. It doesn't have to be a nonprofit. Let your leadership know, whether it's your governor or whoever leader, whatever level of leadership in your county, city. You want to let them know about your business, because they can also include you in new initiatives. But if you don't introduce yourself, or they don't know about your business, then it's also a likelihood that you may miss out on opportunities. That's all I have, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, again for this platform.
And thank you, Michelle. And thank you, everybody, for attending, especially the repeat attendees. Like I said, thank you, whole team, for welcoming me and having me. Um, I I will join any and every time you invite me, and share a little something different each time. Like next time, uh, whenever it is, I'll share like our internal guidelines, like the presentation I do for like our partners. Um, and it's just more so to just help everybody be able to apply and understand the process and feel comfortable about it, which is why we're here. So thank you, Michelle, for everything. Thank you, Chanel, and yeah, I'm glad you all got something out of it. Seriously.
No, thank you so very much, both Chanel and Iman. You are welcome anytime. I'm like, I need to find me a company to buy, so that I can come over there and
Get some
get
money.
me. Yes, yes, yes. So thank you again. Hey, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube fam, Twitter. So thankful that you've joined us. We'll be here every week from 7 to 8 p.m. But guess what? Next week, you're going to get something special. I've decided that I'm going to go live every day from Sunday to Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about equity in government contracting specifically. We're going to be talking about the 4 C's. That's the culture. What are the challenges in the culture that are preventing more access and opportunity to underserved communities? We're going to talk about capacity. Not only the capacity of the business, but the government and the organization's capacity to handle increased number of acquisitions, and then capability. How important it is for the business capability to be ready when the government says, "Come on in, we want to buy what you have." And then nobody can forget capital is the last one, of course. And Iman has done an amazing job sharing with us about a couple of these unique funding opportunities that can basically just take our businesses to the next level. But I so much appreciate you. I hope you will join us in the conversation. If you've got a thought, a passion about equity in government contracting, please send me a DM. We'll have our experts on. Some of them can join some days, some will be on other days. But if you want to be on the panel, have the discussion along with me. I'm going to do a little teaching, a little, taking questions and making comments, and going back and forth. But it's going to be fun. We're going to spend about an hour every day next week starting Sunday. So I hope you'll see. I hope to see you there, and I hope you'll share it. And I can't thank you enough for all of the appreciation and the love for the 3 weeks I was out. Again, I'm forever grateful to this amazing group of folks. Let me just say one thing. Wait. I almost forgot. Guess what? Let me tell you what happened. Tell you what happened last week. I got a surprise visitor. I've never met any of these folks that are on the expert, I put quote expert panel unquote, because that's my opinion that they're experts, but I truly believe they are. I got a surprise visit from Lori Smith, who rolled up, said, "I'm coming to check on you," just like a typical Air Force wing woman. And let
So
me tell
dope.
you, we had an amazing time. She rejuvenated me. This reminded me of why in the military, the wing woman or the buddy system works so well. She brought her spirit of not only excellence but encouragement. We laughed, we cried, we talked, and it was like I had known her all my life, and that was the first time I laid eyes on her. Lori, I want to say thank you. You have no idea what that did to my spirit. Somebody who runs hard all the time and thinks about this stuff 365, 24/7. You blessed me and recharged me, and I just can't thank you enough. It meant a whole lot. So thank you. And it was my pleasure. I don't know if she can speak. She's not on the screen. So, but anyway, oh, I see she's on the other side. So thank you. She's in the chat. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Iman. Thank you to Coach Travis, Coach Sean, and Coach Travis Davis, who I saw in the chat. We appreciate you. Don't forget to join me. I'm going to be here Sunday. So you done been to church already. You have
Okay, here I'm here,
already
Michelle,
been.
and again,
Oh, you here? Hey, girl. Thank you, Iman. Thank you, Coach Travis, Coach
can
Sean,
you
and
hear
Coach
me?
Travis Davis, who I saw in the chat. We appreciate you. Don't forget to join me. I'm going to be here Sunday. So you done been to church already. You
Okay, here I'm here, Michelle,
already been.
and again.
Oh, you here? Hey, girl. You're delayed, so I'm just going to wait until it finishes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, well, Michelle is an absolute joy. Again, gracious host, cannot thank you enough for your generosity and opening up your home to me. Truly enjoyed you.
So I'm just going to wait until it finishes.
And so I'm grateful for everything that you shared. So thank you.
And I'm going to tell you, it's just the beginning. We are going to be doing some amazing things. So look out. I won't spill the beans, but just know it's going to be bigger, better, and badder. So get ready. And I'm really excited about next week. I hope you'll join us. And thanks to all of you who said you appreciated the information. I want to uh, just tell you, um, let me tell you something. I love Lamont. Lamont said in the South, we're taught to lay eyes on our family to make sure they're well, and lay her eyes on me. She did. And so it was just a pleasure. Thanks again. We'll see you on Sunday. And Tuesday, we are going to be talking about equity in government contracting for the entire time. And we'll have the whole team here. So looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your commitment. This community means so much. And what a blessing it is. Good night.